There you
There it is.
go. Yay.
There it is.
Haven't seen you in fucking ages, mate. How you going?
I'm going all right. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm better. I'm walking. So, you know what I mean? So I'm all good. Yeah. I was just talking to Corsi there for for about an hour and a half, and doing the same kind of thing with this. So, your name came up quite a bit, and it was good. Yeah, that was just a really good chat. We were chatting for ages, and he had to run off. How have you been? I'm talking to you in a while.
Johnny's a legend, mate. I love him. He's he's one of the guys who's just, I don't know, he's always been so enthusiastic about the business. He's still enthusiastic today. He's got that enthusiasm for a great record that he's had for 30 years.
No, he talked a lot about that. Because I was asking him advice about, where I'm at now. I was like, I look after up to my mentors, which would be like you or Sam Lamore. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so he was talking about, he was saying, Ivan, well, fuck, Ivan's constantly, asking about a track. Ivan is going to know the hottest track of that thing at the moment. That you got to stay currently on top of music. And it's true, man, because you're a bloody fucking encyclopedia, You kind
of have to. You got to kind of know what's going on. You can also, being the guy that I am at the moment, going back, referencing tracks from 1990, 91. That's probably the one advantage that old school producers like me have got. You can bring back references from tracks that people just wouldn't even know.
Yeah. I'm not that much younger than you. That 90s house music, man. It's been a big,
good era.
I grew up on it. Yeah, it was a really bloody good era. So what have you been up to? How are you dealing with this whole COVID thing, man?
Yeah, look, going okay, man. I mean, I suppose like everybody, I'm trying to throw myself into as many projects as I can.
Yeah.
So I'm just we're about to build a proper studio here out of this space, but done properly. So
down the back.
We're going to knock the wall out. Over this side, there's a wall you can kind of see there. We're going to knock out the wall into the garage. So I've got a bigger space.
Much better.
It's going to be a bit of work, but that's keeping me pretty busy at the moment. And then just lots of tracks, I've focused my energy the last couple of years on doing a lot of co-producing and mixing for people. And it's busy, because there's a lot of guys making records at the moment. And girls for that matter. And right now everybody's in lockdown. So there's a lot of people making tunes and they need a hand with them. So that's where I come in. So I'm actually really busy, which is good.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm still doing the dance music thing, but I'm just branching out into mentoring and co-producing and any style, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And because anything from pop, like I found an awesome new artist last week, and she's just ready to go, but she just needs the right sound behind her. And she's working with a producer in Sydney, and the stuff was good, like she is incredible, and it just needs a bit of guts,
polish,
a bit of balls as well. Because she's really cute, like as in she's really edgy, and the track is cool. I mean, I just think that the baseline riff is the main whole thing, and I don't think it goes well with it doesn't go well with the vocal. It's a cool riff. I don't think it just kind of plays against the vocal. I'm kind of stripping it right back to kind of like a Billie Eilish kind of vibe, but with a totally different vocal, And I mean, I haven't been working apart from the last couple of months. Like I had that accident five months ago. I was in a wheelchair for 2 months, and I couldn't do anything, and I couldn't do fucking anything. So then I got back on my feet and started producing and working again, and but nobody was coming forward because all my clients were interstate, You know what I mean? And the ones I was working with locally, I was working on this cool project called Tri-Fi, and it was myself, Jeremy Bennett, and Janine Atwill, who's an incredible singer. And we were just jamming here, you know, and then the accident and the COVID hit at the same time. And I was just like, oh, for fuck's sake. But it was kind of a bit of a blessing in disguise, you know what I mean? Because I got to sit around, and I didn't have any fear of missing out, or FOMO, what the kids call it these days. But so have you, like, are you just working on lots of other people's track?
Yeah, look, I'm doing a bit of everything, really. I've got a project with, I'm working on some stuff with Andy Murphy. We've got a band project that we've been putting together.
Oh, cool.
We've been working on and off for a couple of years on it, and it's finally starting to come together. Like, we've got nearly an album's worth of tracks for it.
Sick.
And it's kind of like, it's sort of an 80s influenced thing. So it's got elements of dance music in it. Like, the beats are fairly heavy. I've mixed and produced and co-written a lot of the songs, and it's very, I guess it's a little bit sort of, it's got areas of sort of Empire of the Sun.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of kind of synthwave type music in there, very 80s influence.
Cool.
St. Lucia, I don't know if you know St. Lucia.
Yeah.
Kind of like, so it's
awesome.
It's coming along. Like, we've been working on it for a long time.
Yeah.
And so we're getting to a point where we want to start shopping some demos around for that.
Oh, good. It's a funny old game at the moment in music, because you know, like, people say, I use I was going to say Mob and Master for two different reasons now. One was with your synth pop. I'll get his guitar for you if you want, you know, for when you're performing. But
he's not bad on the old guitar. I've seen him live a couple of times. He knows how to handle that thing all right. I'm hopeless. I've tried playing live keys. I can't.
He's bloody good, man. Like, we've just done a couple of tracks together. Under him and Kane, Rubber People, and Johnny Sonic. One's What Seems, it's coming out on November the 11th or something like that. And then I got a couple. Then another track called Hey that we originally were doing for the Potbellies, and then we just kept it for ourselves, because we released all those 20 tracks at once on Spotify as the Potbellies. So that's all done and dusted. And I was going to ask you, like, this is obviously for mentoring as well. Like, so whoever's watching this, Ivan is one of my top mentors. You know, I've learned so much from him, spent a lot of time in the studio with him. And the other person that you've seen is John Corse, my two top mentors. And John, you know, he was the guy that signed me, you know, and then Sam Lamore and yourself have taken my production to the next level just purely by spending time in the room with you, you know. And I had a few questions for you. Like, one, like, you know, for say a young kid coming in and who has some hot records or who has a totally different sound, say it's like orchestral house music that just brings you to the next out of body or mind or state record, but or the guy with the most simple, cool little pop tune, whatever. What would you say to them to give them encouragement during this time? Because it's a fucking difficult time for everyone, especially struggling musicians, you know what I mean, which is 99% of every
look, it is it's a tough time, but you know what, people always love music. People still want to, you know, streaming revenues. I had a conversation today with one of the top publishing guys in the country, and we were talking about you know, how the publishing side of things has been affected by this, and it's dropped off in some areas. Obviously, you know, there's not as much live performance music there's no money revenue because no one's playing anything in clubs right now.
Yeah, that's my cash cow.
But the reality is that people are always going to want good music. Good music is what inspires people. Good music is what keeps people, particularly in lockdown, it helps people keep moving forward, you know?
Yeah, true.
So the best advice I can give anybody is just keep doing what you're doing, keep believing in yourself, and most importantly, keep going. Just keep going. No matter how many people
keep writing records is what you always say to me.
Keep going. Keep moving forward. Just keep at it, because something will happen eventually. You know, every person I've met who's succeeded in this business, most of them have just, no matter what, they keep going. They just keep producing, keep writing music. They keep doing stuff because that's all they have to do it. And that's really how you become successful, is just, keep going until something happens. Because if you do keep going, eventually something will happen.
And it does, it does happen. I mean, talking about the younger kids, younger generation, who have probably come in, they've been born into a, social media world, whereas we've come through the, vinyl, cassette, all that, all the way up to CDs for a year or two, and there's all MP3s. But like they don't feel music like we used to. What we grew up on. So I think it's really important that they know that how to get a feel for music and to what they're listening to. It's like play what you make and make what you play kind of thing. And whenever I've been, my head's fucked as well. Like whenever I've asked you, what am I doing? What can I do? And your thing was always, to me, your advice was always just keep making records. Just keep making records. Just keep making records.
Absolutely, that's what you can do.
I haven't stopped. I have not stopped making records, and it's going. You know what I mean?
That's all you can do, man. I mean, you've got to keep going. And look, you're a good DJ who's probably got the advantage of knowing what makes a dance floor work. Mm-hmm. And so you're bringing that element to the table almost kind of instinctively. It's just in you because you've played so many gigs over the years.
Yeah,
you know what works. And
playing since I was
really 16. All you've got to do is combine those elements, combine the elements that work with whatever's happening now. I mean, I do a lot of co-producing with people. Now, one of the guys I'm working with a lot at the moment, who you've worked with before, Marcus Santoro. Yes. Marcus is
he's great.
He just loves the music, loves the scene. He's a big fan. He grew up in the kind of post-EDM sort of era. Yeah. So he's referencing a lot of the Axwells of the world and Dirty Souths. He's a big fan of Dirties and of Dragons and stuff. And that's like, when I work with him on a lot of projects. He brings that youthfulness to the productions. I know how to clean everything up and make the beats sound big. My mixing's great. But he sometimes will throw an idea in and I go, oh, wow, that's really unlocked the potential of that record. So one of the things I tell a lot of young guys is, if there's an area of your skill set that you don't have, go and find someone to work with. I mean, look, it's difficult in
100%
in lockdown, but even with Skype or Zoom, you can get together collaboratively with people and develop ideas together, because sometimes you can't always get the result you want on your own. So another great sort of tip for people is go and look for some other people. Maybe you're a good producer, but you can't come up with good chords or structures. Go and find somebody who plays piano to help you come up with some, send them your beats and say, this is kind of what I'm doing. And then get them to come back to you with chords and ideas, because 100%. If you keep trying to do everything yourself, like I'm very good at recognizing my limitations. And sometimes, if I need some parts played, like I can play a bit of keyboard and I can write good chords, but sometimes I need somebody who's going to take it further. So I go and get a keyboard player, or I go and pay a guitarist. I got a couple of guitar players that I often will send tracks to and say, look, I'm looking for a guitar. I'll give them a reference and say, listen, I want a few guitar licks in this sort of key, like this, with this type of sound. And, I recognize sometimes that adding or collaborating with certain people really makes a big difference on your records.
Yeah, I've always been an advocate of whatever actually what my mother taught me, whatever you're not the best at in that circle, and in your mind, whatever you're not the best at, get somebody in to help it get there. So as you say, I've got this kid Jeremy Bennett, an incredible keyboard player. He's got it. He's just got the funk. He's just got the sound. He's got everything. And, working with different vocalists and different songwriters, pre, during, and post Pop Bellies, it's been one thing that I've always done. But like sometimes then, I'll just find a sample and a 4-beat loop with a bit of filtering and a tiny vocal can be enough. You know what I mean? So it's, it's interesting that way. And, it's good for like to have basic skills, you know what I mean? To have the basic chords, it's really good. But as you said, take it to the next level. You need someone who's just like just dancing all
and it might even be mixing. You might, you know, I do a lot of mixing for people at the moment. I'm getting a lot of mixing work because a lot of crew they get their tracks to a point where they go, okay, I think it sounds pretty good. And then they come over to me and I just give it a bit of an international standard kind of polish for them. And it's, you know, it doesn't cost a lot of money, and it gives their record that, you know, because if you're trying to compete against the Beatport top 10, the Beatport top 100s, the good records, the tracks that are getting played all over the world, it sometimes you need to get someone in just to give you a bit of extra mixing skill, just to take that record to the next level. Same with the mastering guys, you know. I'm a big fan of guys like Klaus in Sydney, and my good mate Tony Mance down in Melbourne. You know, they've got analog outboard gear and stuff. They'll help you take your records to that next level. Yeah,
Steve Scanlon as well. He's a big boy.
That's right, Steve. Yeah, Steve's great. I mean, he's done a lot of mixes of stuff that I've worked on in the past. He's always does a great job. You know, there's some really good guys who don't charge very much money.
Yeah.
And again, it's all about recognizing, okay, I can't get it to this level myself. So I'll spend a couple of $100 or a few $100 getting a mix down, or a couple hundred getting a master, or whatever, and just get it to the next level.
Yeah, it's like during lockdown, one thing that I've really given so much more time in our hands. Even being record producers, you're still thinking music 24/7. But you know, I've said, right, I'm going to learn the best ability of how to mix down a record, you know, and so now I've got like a setup of 3 sort of templates for mixing a record. You know what I mean? So like whenever somebody comes to me and they want me to finish their record, you know, say like whatever what we usually do for an artist, a finishing kind of, and then you mix it. You know, you might change the bass, you might change the kick, you might make it pump a little harder or less. You know, and I've really like dived into the mathematics of it, and structurally in the air where things should sit and frequency wise. And I tell you something, and in mastering, and it's taken my production to the next level, much further up, just by having those technical skills that I know now. Well, whereas before I'd be like, there's a wicked loop, chuck that in there, flip a kick drum in, right, here's the melody, sing it, and then bish bash bosh.
Yeah, totally.
And then I'd throw it off to getting mixed. But because now, you know, I've used this time to learn how to mix, the tracks are sounding a lot closer to perfect than before, you know. Like, have you done much extra work because you're in lockdown? What have you found it?
Yeah, look, I've got a lot more work at the moment than I had, because a lot of people are actually at home. They're making records at the moment. They're not gigging as much, so there's more time to produce tracks. So I'm getting a lot of stuff sent through. A lot of it's coming from record companies. They've got a project. They go, look, we just need it taken to a more international standard. I think I've improved a lot in the last probably 2 years, and particularly in the last probably 6 to 12 months. I feel like I've spent a lot of time I spent a lot of money buying plugins.
Yeah.
I reckon I've probably spent, I reckon I've nearly spent maybe, I don't know, somewhere between 5 and 10 grand in the last 12 months on plugins.
Yeah, brilliant.
Just to get all the tools that I need to help get my records to that next level.
Yeah.
You know, watching a lot of the top engineers, watching their streams, and just picking up tips, because I know what I'm doing, but every time I watch something, I pick up a new idea of some technique that I could work really well. And on certain records, you know, I saw one today, a guy was talking about how to use parallel processing on
drums.
vocals.
Oh, vocals,
and
right.
I do it on drums already, but there's all these different tips and techniques, and quite often, you know, you might watch a video that goes for an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
It could make a massive difference, you know.
That's what, mate, I'm
not doing that. Wow, I got to steal that idea. You know, that's great.
yeah. It's funny. Like one of the things I was looking into the middle that Zed did, and I was listening to it, and I was trying. It was like dissecting the track, and you know, the vocoder it has in it, I was like, holy shit. And everyone kind of thinks it's a new thing. I was like, oh shit, we did that whole vocoder thing with Donald back. We should have turned it up. You know what I mean? Because, you know, those harmonic vocoder vocals, you know what I mean, in that track Z in the middle. And so just like dissecting huge tracks like that, and what makes, like, say, Marshmallow Friend into a crossover commercial record with the way that the drums sit, even just how up front the kick drum is, and you know how much panning you would do for a pop record, or what you may not do for a dance record, you know. And
sure.
Learned lots of tricks. So I'd implore everyone to kind of, if you're not working, definitely YouTube tutorials. There's nothing you can't find out on YouTube, eh?
Yeah, that's right. There's so much stuff on there, and there's so many good ideas. And you know what? You can just take on board. The most important thing is being able to actually hear what it is that your tracks or your sound source needs. You know, I get told all the time, oh, you got to boost this frequency and boost that frequency and stuff. There's no good telling people that, because it's like no good saying to somebody, hey, you need to put 50 hertz into your kick. It's like, well, if your kick's already got too much 50 hertz, then
take it out.
That's not going to help, you know. What you need to do is you need to be able to train people, or you need to be able to train your ears to actually you need to be able to teach yourself how to teach yourself. So in other words, train your ear on how to get better. And the only way to do that really is referencing and watching those types of videos where you've got, you know, top engineers and producers dissecting their records and saying, this is how I make that sound. This is how I do this.
Did you see the Hans Zimmerman? You see that Hans Zimmerman one? And then I watched what's his name, Timbaland as well. Like the way they make their music, and then you go to Hans Zimmer. It's like, what the fuck? You know, it's like all he does is the tiniest EQ, and it sounds amazing. You know what I mean? Like it's next level.
See, Timbaland's a good example though. Timbaland is a great example of that American style of production where, you know, particularly on the R&B and hip hop style records, they don't worry too much about sound choices per se. What they look for quite often is a loop that they find on a record somewhere. They chuck it into one of those MPCs.
Yeah.
And they play back a loop until they get something. They go, yeah, that's jacking. Put a couple of beats on it. They worry about the finer details later on. It's like, let's get the bones of the record down.
Do you know how
and then those guys will send it to someone like Tony Maserati to do the mix for him. So he's going to crush it anyway, no matter what you give him, you know? So
I see, like Timbaland actually gets in the booth and he'll make the whole track with his mouth first. And, and then he'll match the sound in Ableton. Then he's on push. And then he puts all the drums in, and he's just constantly like vibing. He's just like this. It's like when I'm in the studio with you. You're just like constantly like fucking just the energy.
But that's how it has to work. You have to be able to do that. That's the key. I mean, I get asked a lot, you know, from young producers. How do I finish my records and all that kind of stuff? That's one of the big things. Yeah, and it's like you got to try and work out how you can get stuff done quickly.
Yeah,
you know, I'm so hyper. I'm just a complete hyper idiot. When I'm on a vibe somewhere, if I'm going somewhere,
you are hyper.
But it works because you get the bones of a record done. Like I've had days where I come to the studio and I'll come out 6-8 hours later and not have anything. Yeah. And then I've got days where I go in and 15 minutes later I've got half a record.
It's the exact same for everyone. All of us really. Like, I mean, I've been working on this one bloody loop for an original of mine for about 6 months, but then I finished 10 Potbelly's tracks in 2 weeks. You know, like club records. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, I think you mixed a couple of them as well. They sounded great. Whoever fucking did them, whoever mixed them, but they were actually the first Potbelly's records to have no vocals on them. And so, like, if you go on to Spotify, it'll be in all new singles, but there's 4 new EPs of 5 tracks. You should have a listen to the club stuff. That's all the ones, pretty much the club stuff. The one I did, and Dave and Alan did the more commercial stuff. You know, so just right. Well, you take that path, we'll take this one. Let's meet in the middle. Let's get them out. You know, and we just did an invisible launch just to see what would happen. And people are.
Well, that's what you got to do. Sometimes you just got to punch out a bit of content and stuff. And
that's it. Yeah, big time, man.
Keep the brand value going. I mean, it's always difficult when, at the moment particularly, it's hard when you've got people in different states as you guys do. Plus, you're in ISO as well.
Oh,
you can't go anywhere. You can't meet with anybody. You know,
I'm
doing a lot of this sort of stuff. I'm doing a lot of work with people.
Is it not out where you are? You're the other side, aren't you? I'm down in Bomb Beach. You're right up.
Yeah, we're out at the eastern suburbs, but we're going okay here. Like, we don't have a lot of cases in the area and stuff. It's just not being able to actually get together with people to work collaboratively, which is what I like to do.
That's the big thing for me as well. I mean, there's this, you know, the place to be like a turnstile, people coming in and out, you know what I mean? Yeah, totally. And even like coming interstate, flying in to, you know, stay here for 4 or 5 days and hang out, and I just can't do it. And it's like, you know how boring and how it can be trying to get an idea going by yourself. Like, even if you have like a bloody monkey beside you, it doesn't matter, you know, like you need some kind of muse to get in there, or you're working on a project that you're really passionate about. I find it very difficult to like write my own passionate music unless I find that sample, or I make that chord, or if I find that tiny sound that I can make into this hook, like that bass clef on the track myself and bass clef did. You're going to send it over to Axtone. It was just called D because it was all in it was actually called Club Slut, but it was all in the key of D. Everything was tuned to the key of D, and that simplicity, you know. So who are you looking at the moment that's coming in the scene that you're looking at? Is there anyone in particular in the Australian scene?
Well, I mean, I'm watching. I'm always looking to see what's going on. Obviously, I'm working a lot with Marcus Santoro, who's he's close to having a breakout record. You know, like,
he's great, Marcus.
I feel like he's inching closer. Having that really big track. He's got a track coming out with Axtone in a couple of weeks. I think it's got a lot of radio potential. So you know, obviously he's doing stuff. I'm doing, to be honest with you, I'm not actually doing that much scouting for records. I've just been, I mean, I've got a folder on my main computer here, which is just chock-a-block with all the promos I've been sent. I haven't looked through them. I reckon there's probably 1,000 tracks in there now. There's so much stuff. Like, it's going to take me a week to go through it to sift through it. But there's a lot of young guys in Melbourne and girls who are making really cool, deeper house kind of stuff, you know. Some of the promos that I'm getting sent from some of the local labels, I don't know who they are, the people producing, but then there's a lot of young crew making some terrific beats. Yeah. Obviously, you know, some of the bigger producers that are doing some good stuff at the moment. I've been listening to a few of Dave Winnell's things. He's got some good stuff. Yeah, Dave's got good stuff. I'm a big fan of the Journey boys, Tommy and Jacob. Their stuff's great. I mean, Tom likes a lot of the same kind of music that I do. Very deep. Melodic tech, melodic progressive,
a little bit darker.
Darker, exactly.
And
then we've got the guys that I used to work with in Melbourne. We had a label 20 years ago called Zero Tolerance, where we made some really dark late night kind of music. Those guys are they're relaunching the label, so they're going to do reissues of our old tracks, remasters. They're going to be remixing a couple of the old records.
Brilliant.
And putting out new content. So I'm going to be watching what those guys are doing. So
that's brilliant.
Yeah, we had a studio. This is around the 2000 era. We had a studio above a shop in Paran. It was the old DMC record store. We had a big mixing console in there. I had this 350 kilo mixing console that we had to crane to get it in through the window, and so we were doing things old.
Earning your stripes, mate. Earning your stripes.
Dude, it was awesome. It was like, I got a couple of old photos. I'm actually kicking myself. I didn't take enough photos of the studio at the time, but we made a lot of dark beat stuff. So it was really big with Digweed and
brilliant,
those kinds of DJs, the Global Underground guys. Anthony Papa, he was a big supporter of our music, you know. So it was long before TV Rock and all that, and it was great fun. But we kind of stopped doing it because I started making more electro stuff in the mid 2000s. You know, I started having
we all did
other things. It was a really good era. So
I think we were all like just, you know, swapping clubs in King's Cross. Like, you'd be playing there, we'd be playing there. It was the best time of my
I'd
life,
up at a club
man.
and, oh, we had the Potbellies here last night or last week or next week or whatever, you know.
Yeah,
it was
oh,
a
man,
good time.
That was a bloody good time, man.
The Ministry of Sound and One Love days were great because One Love guys put us on a lot. We played the Ministry House parties. You know, it was a good era. But
it was a great era.
Yeah, good times.
Yeah, I mean, like I've come as like you through the graces and the falls, and you know, now I'm going to ask your advice because I want my kids to see how their mentor is being mentored, right? So with you know what I do, you know what I'm doing, and
yep, sure.
Is there any way, like we've spoken a little bit, and obviously the accidents put me right back, but before that I was really jacking it up. So do you have any advice from me, from someone who, you know, I see you as a mentor to me, you know what I mean, you know, with what I'm doing with my one-on-one music, what can I do to get even better? Like,
look, the main thing for you, Johnny, I mean, look, you have got a drive and I guess a passion for the business that it comes through in everything you do. You know, you're always vibed. You're a bit like me, a bit crazy sometimes, but there's definitely a passion there and stuff. And that's, look, the thing is, you know, as like you bring to the table the right elements, just experience. I mean, this is the thing that a lot of guys kind of don't really. It's something that you don't really think about because you just. Yeah. It's just who you are. But the reality is guys like you and me have got 20 plus years experience at knowing what worked, knowing what didn't, knowing, and these are the things that the younger kids today don't know. They need people like you and me to steer them in the right direction and to kind of help them. So, you know, what I say to the, I mean, I've worked with quite a few young guys myself. And one of the things that I say to them is I try to kind of say, look, here's what you need to do in terms of your production to get it better. Here's how you can teach yourself how to mix better. Here's what you need to do with your business side. Make sure you're, you know, doing your paperwork correctly. Make sure all that sort of stuff. And I suppose,
healthy.
Eat healthy. Look
Big
after
time.
yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we're in a business where a lot of the guys we've worked with have struggled with various problems, including, you know, we have to deal with suicide and alcohol problems and drug problems.
Too many times. Too many times.
So that's important.
Yeah.
But yeah, the advice that I would give you, Johnny, I mean, the thing is, I don't think there's anything I can tell you that you don't already know, to be honest. It's all about just making sure that your messages you're giving kids are coming from your position of experience.
Yeah.
And it's because a lot of what you're doing when you're mentoring somebody is not teaching them how to produce or how to mix. It's also a little bit of a kind of, it's almost life lessons in some respects.
It's exactly that, mate. And, you know, when you said, it just shows. That's what, I needed to hear in a way, because, you know, some days you'll have shit days, you know, or, you know, some weeks you might have 10 clients and the next 2 weeks you don't have any like gigs, you know, and especially the gigs are gone. That's half of my creativity, you know what I mean? I'd still be touring, you know, like even on my own or with Dave and the Potbellies, you know. But I appreciate that, man, you know, because
you need a passion. That's the thing. That's the difference, I think, for a lot of people. I know a lot of producers who jump into a scene because they think I can make a quick buck with this. You know, it happened with the EDM stuff for a while. Everybody was trying to do it. Then it happened with the Melbourne bounce thing down here. Everybody was making bounce records for a while. And it was just like, you know what? There's a lot of good music in and around those sounds, but there was also a lot of imposters. And those people usually fall away. They usually fall away by the really passionate guys who go, you know what? I want to keep moving forward. I mean, you look at someone like Throttle, who started in Melbourne, making EDM records, doing what everybody else was doing. And he just hit a point one day where he said, you know what? I'm going to do something else. I'm going to make these disco cut up things. And he did it and he smashed it, you know? And it's like, that's really what makes the difference between the people who succeed and the people who don't. It's just commitment. Just keep going. Keep doing it. Keep moving forward. Keep knocking out beats and keep trying to get better.
Oh, always.
Keep working on improving yourself, you know?
I think music is like fucking playing golf. You'll never perfect it. Like, you know, you'll never get that perfect swing.
No, you'll never, but you also get to a point where you go, that's good enough. And that's.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've been making records for nearly 30 years and I'm still learning. I'm still the first person when there's a new video on my, you know, I see with them, with one of the professional engineers doing a masterclass or a mixing where they dissect one of their records or something. I'm watching and I'm learning some new technique. It might only be one or two things I learned that I don't already know, but I'm taking it on board. Okay, why is he boosting that frequency? Right, let me listen to my sound because that's going to help.
Yeah,
you know? You're just always learning, always moving forward.
Yeah, it's pretty much what John was saying as well, just earlier on. And, you know, I was asking him just about different sounds that I've been, you know, say I would go to him with, or say an artist would go to him with 10 or 15 tracks, but they don't have any presence online or they're not in the actual scene. But there's 3 tracks that are good. He'd rather see a kid like Jesse Bly. Remember Jesse Bly that I got with Single Ladies? It's actually got released on my birthday last Friday. And that was for like a year in the making. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he just tweaked it a tiny bit at the end, and boom, gone, off he pops. You know, Aaliyah, like just today, you know, over in Jesse Saunders. Her second single just got released, and you know, and I always go back to when you told me that just keep making records. The more records you make, you just keep making records. Even the Kin Girls just got signed in Italy. You know, they're up to like 200,000 plays in their track on Spotify. You know, so these are projects I was working on 4 years ago. So. The ones that I've been doing over the last year and a half, who bloody knows, you know, like I found some really special artists, and especially when you kind of let yourself go, that it's not about you anymore. It's about finding that fucking spark in that artist, swiping it, like polishing it and then multiplying it by 100. So I'm not making them my sound. I'm making them 10 times more them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the trick.
Yeah.
That's the thing when you're working with other people, you don't want to bring your sound to the table. You want to enhance theirs.
That's right, yeah. I don't want to make any more Potbelly's tracks for quite some time, you know. But so what have you got coming out yourself? Have you got anything coming out?
Yeah, I've got a few bits and pieces I'm working on at the moment. I've got a house track coming out on which I'm working on a remix with Marcus Santoro at the moment.
Yeah.
And obviously the Night Theory project that I've been telling you about with Andy Murphy.
Yeah.
That's going to be. I'm sort of unofficial. I'm kind of the unofficial member of the band. I won't be out on stage doing any of that sort of stuff, but that's happening. I'm doing a lot of mixing and production work for some other crew. Working on a couple of tracks with the Mashed and Kutcher guys.
Oh yeah.
Working on a couple of tracks with the Sneaky Sound System guys.
Yeah. Well, you'll be working on you're going to be working on a couple of tracks of mine really soon because they're nearly finished, and I don't know what more to do with them. And they're techy.
Beautiful. Looking forward to hearing them when they're ready, man.
Junky, chunky, funky bass tech house. You're gonna love it. Like the first track that we made together in 301 Studios in Sydney that morning, the very first morning.
That's a good record, man. We should have put that out.
Fucking record.
I listened to it the other day. I went, wow, that's got some zhuzh on it. That has.
Just fucking put it out, man. Give it to Axwell or something. Get him to put a vocal on it. And fucking off the pop. You know, we'll call ourselves.
It's always hard actually because sometimes that happens. I've had a lot of records go that way where you start off, you get a spark, you get something good, and then you just can't seem to find the right vocal for it. You can't find the right label for it, and it ends up falling by the wayside. And I've probably got a couple of dozen records that I look at and go, that was a great record. We should put that out. You know? Give
me back that instrumental, because I don't think I've got that instrumental, because I've got some insane new vocalists that I'm working on.
It'll be on my hard drive somewhere. I'll have a look later.
Yeah. Wicked. All right, listen, I'm going to let you go because it's nearly fucking tea time, and I know the missus will kill me. Yeah, your missus will kill me if you don't go into the girls.
Oh, no, that's all right. We're fine.
Yeah, all right, man. But like, Ivan, we really appreciate it, man. I'm really grateful for doing this.
Yeah, and I'm cooking a roast tonight. That's the plan.
Beautiful.
Very Australian. I do a lot of international food. I love my cooking. That's one of the things I find helps me a lot in the business. Is it helps to keep my sanity. Is every night at about 5 o'clock, I go into the kitchen, and I just, I just concentrate on the ingredients. Don't focus on anything else.
Yeah.
Cook a nice meal, eat a nice meal, relax, have a glass of wine after dinner.
I find it's like very meditative cooking.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Especially after so
Absolutely.
much noise during the day, and then you're just like, tap, 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 tap. You know, I get in the zone with cooking as well, man. It's funny.
Yeah. It
is.
It takes your focus completely away from what you're doing. And when you're working on tracks, sometimes you just hit a roadblock. Sometimes you're working on something and you just cannot get anything going. So sometimes you just got to get out. You know what? I'm going to go in the kitchen. I'm going to make myself some food or do something else.
Yeah.
And disappear for a couple of hours and then, or even leave something for a day and you come back to it. And the next day you come back to it, you're like, oh, I know what I got to do now. Bang off.
Yeah. It's good when especially when you have enough projects to do that with. Like, I've got guys making like pure, like West Coast gangster hip hop, but with Aussie guys on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're paying really fucking good money. And I'm loving it because I love making hip hop. It's one of my favorite things to do because I grew up on hip hop, you know, and that's been getting a lot of noise. That's been making a lot of noise in the hip hop world, you know, which is really, really cool. I've never been in the hip hop world in Australia, you know, but like Jonathan from Bliss and Esso, he's Esso. We were just playing around doing some things and somebody heard it and one thing led to another. A lot, like someone's buying my beats for a lot of money, you know what I mean? So it's just
that's what you want.
It's fucking great, mate. A nice little payday.
A lot of people can't. I mean, this is the thing. A lot of people can't do that themselves. They need people like you to actually say, you know what, you craft up some beats. Sometimes I've done that before. I've worked on something and not thought much about it. Maybe it's something I don't even think is that good. And then somebody else hears it and goes, oh, hang on, I can do something really cool with this. Yeah. So they take it off and off they go.
Yeah, and dude, John said, I was literally spoke to John before you. The two of us are literally saying, the three of us are saying the same thing. Like, it's brilliant. Yeah. It's good for the...
That's the thing about this game. I actually got that. I got that from working with the Nervo girls. Yeah. When I was working with the Nervo girls, they always said to me, never throw out your old records. Just keep them. You never know when a project's going to come along and you go, you know what, I can give them that track. Yeah. You flick it over to them and all of a sudden one of the tracks you thought was dead in the water becomes a hit.
Yeah, that's the one. And it's also good to have, you know, someone who's not into music making. So like my missus Christy, like she'd come in here and she's like, oh, I love that song. Yeah, and she'll just be singing it and singing it and singing it and singing it. And I'd be like, what do you think of the production? She's like, yeah, it's great. I love this song. You know what I mean? But it's having that, not having the brain of thinking of the
it's the unfiltered response.
Exactly. And you know, I get nervous when I'm going to play it to her or not, because she's going to tell me if she can't remember it or she doesn't like it, she'll tell me, you know. So it's
I got that with my wife. She's very good like that. She'll just go, no, that's not working.
Dish it. It's shit.
You know? But she's like, she'll tell me how to fix something. She'll go, add more energy here.
Yeah, yeah. Like, okay, cool. She even did it to a record we were working on together.
Yeah. She'll do that. See, some people, sometimes your mates are no good because they'll be like, oh, you're a legend. You know, that's great. And you're like, yeah, maybe. But if you get somebody who gives you an unfiltered response, they're like, no, that's not good enough. Go back and rework it.
Brilliant.
You know, I watched a video today and it was, who's the actor I'm thinking of that was in Dances with Wolves?
Your man,
yeah, I can't think of his name.
He's from Vikings, the Aussie guy.
Yeah, anyway, he was saying that he was basically living with the guy who was writing all this stuff and it wasn't going anywhere, and the guy was basically running out of money and he was working in a Chinese restaurant.
Fisher, was it?
And this guy gave him this book and said, I want you to read this. I think it could be a movie. And he kept he was dismissing it the whole time. And he finally gets a phone call from this guy. He says, just read it, just look at it. And he looked at it and it was dead. It was the script for Dances with Wolves, right?
Wow.
And Kevin Costner is who I'm thinking of.
Oh, Kevin Costner. Right. I thought
and he was saying that
Chased by Wolves. Go on. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. And he was just dismissing it the whole time. And then all of a sudden he went, you know what? I'm going to read it. And bang, off it went.
Yeah, I know. And that can happen with any track as well.
You know, exactly right.
Like when I listen to some of my mentorees, you know, their demos, I usually always pick the one that they don't pick, you know, and then I'll show them the beauty of it, and they're like, oh God, I knew it was good at the beginning. I always get that. I knew it was good at the beginning. So, you know, you can always just trail off and go into fuckland.
Yeah,
I mean, the record's done. But if you back up the truck a little bit, you know, that's where our job is, to move the shit out of the way. You know what I mean?
Sometimes you work on something for too long, and you just get get numb to it. You don't really kind of know if it's any good anymore. And you know, working on the project, working on the Night Theory project with Andy Murphy, we've been working on it for almost 2 years now. Just developing songs and stuff. Anyway, the first couple of records, like we said that the songwriting on the last 6 months worth of tracks is probably better than what we were doing 18 months ago. But when we played the demos to people, a couple of them have actually liked the first things we did. So you go, you know, most people think that the newer stuff's good, but you still, you know, sometimes when you work on a track for too long, you don't really know if it's good anymore. You're like, you know, it's why you'll often hear bands say that they don't listen to their albums after they're made, because quite often there's so much pressure and pain and energy that goes into making an album that you just can't tell afterwards. I don't know. I don't want to hear it anymore. You know, you just become.
Yeah, I never listened to. You know? I never listened back to Pop Ellie's music. I just can't, because I've just been making it. You know, as you say, there's so much emotion and turmoil and energy and craziness that goes into every record that you make. It's just like, oh, finally finished. All right, done. Next one.
Exactly. Sometimes you just want to wrap something up and move on.
Exactly.
And I think sometimes you press something too hard. You just go too far with something. Sometimes you've got to recognize when something's not working. I've done a lot of tracks where I just try to go, and at some point you go, you know what, this ain't working. Let's just fold it up and start something fresh, you know?
I think I've got about 3 terabytes of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then all these hard drives down here.
But you know what? A singer comes to your studio one day and you pull up 10 records that you don't like, and they find one and they go, oh, that's really good. Let's do something with that. Yeah. And then they sing on it, and all of a sudden it gives a new life, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what I've been doing now with a couple. It's just crazy. Like John and yourself have just literally been saying the exact same things, and it's kind of, you may as well be in the chat now. Like, you know, the final thing I asked him to say. Well, one of the final things was, what would you say to the kids that are out there at the moment in lockdown, that are feeling blue? They're not going to be DJing, you know, getting their $50 an hour gigs. You know, they're right down on the music production. They're not, you know, they mightn't even have their own job at the moment. What would you say to those kids, those guys and girls?
The most important thing is keeping your mental health in good shape. That's got to take precedence over absolutely anything. Anything else you're doing is secondary to your mental health. And for a lot of people, it's figuring out, do I need to pick up the phone and call somebody? Maybe I spend, you know, maybe you block out a couple of hours a day where you do stuff for you, like go for a long walk. You know, it's what we do out here. I'm out near the Yarra River. I make sure that every afternoon I'm out of the house for an hour with the dog, with a couple of friends, like, well, one friend, which is all we're allowed to do, but we basically,
1 hour.
And my daughter and one other friend will go for a walk. And the 2 girls walk ahead of us, and we walk as just a group of 2. We just go for a walk, get fresh air. So that's the first thing. Take care of your mental stress. But the best advice I can give people, while you're in lockdown, use some of your time to upskill. There is tons and tons of videos online on how to improve what it is you're doing, how to improve your mixing, how to improve your production, how to write songs better, how to, you know, take up a course in how to play keyboard and learn how to do some basic chord changes and stuff. That's what you're struggling with. You know, there's so much content on the internet that's free. Yeah. You know, I mean, obviously you've got a bit of cash on, you can pay for some of it, but there is stacks and stacks of free content online that can help you to improve what you're doing. And you've got all the time in the world at the moment. So
get stuck in. That. Yeah.
Upskill.
All right. Upskill.
Learn how to do things.
Love it. And
learn how to do stuff.
We're going to have to make a record soon, mate. Another record
soon. Yes, indeed, we will, my friend. We certainly will.
When I get the feeling back in my left-hand side of my body and I can drive, I'll be around to you. You have to come and see this new studio as well, man.
Yeah, well, when I'm allowed to go, I can only go 500 metres down the road, I think.
I know, same. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it, Ivan. I'm really grateful. All right.
And we'll look forward to catching up soon.
All right, buddy. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks, man. No problem. Speak to you soon. Thanks,
Bye.
mate.
Bye.